Hi, so it's Cara and we're hand camming today, so expect it to not be steady at all. But my tripod is missing the important bits. Yeah. So we are at a new location today, which is exemplified by this amazing new wall I just put up. It's not that amazing. I expected it to be in color, but I accidentally printed black and white, so we're going with the black and white because I don't want to pay for printing again. And this these are the covers so far of 2015 5-star books. So these are all the books so far this year I've rated 5 stars up till the end of February. So today we're going to be filming my February wrap up. I've already filmed most of it, luckily, because this Steadicam, the hand cam, it's not going to go well. But I did, yeah, I filmed essentially. I filmed most of it, but I did film it about half a week before the end of the month. So I wanted to add this little bit to finish off the month. So now I will cut to that clip now. Okay, so it is currently the morning of February 25th. That means there's still like 4 days, including today, of February left. But I'm going to be really busy. I'm not going to be home, so I'm going to film whatever I read in those last few days. So you probably know this. I probably talked about this in the bit before, in my intro. But I have 20 books here that I've already read so far this month. And I thought I'd share them with you. So first off this month, I read 2 novellas. The first one was Fallen Souls by, oh my god, why don't I write down surnames beforehand? Oh my god. First off, I read Fallen Souls by Linda Foster. This is a novella about angels that's like so hard to explain. It is the beginning of a series, like an introduction to a series, and it follows like a boy and a girl and kind it's been too long. The boy has some things going on and he's seeing this weird thing person that looks a bit creepy, and he's trying to protect his older sister, and in trying to protect her they get in an accident and she's in a coma, and he's got to figure out whether he wants to kind of sell his soul. But then there's also another plot line. There's like two plot lines, like one then the next, presented in the novella, which I assume are both really expanded on in the first book. And the second one follows some angels trying to. Um, there's a group of angels that are trying to bring down God, and we're following an angel that doesn't really want that to happen. So overall, I didn't love it. I felt like the writing was a bit meh, and it definitely didn't inspire me to go and pick up the first book. So I think I rated it 3 stars. It was okay, it was enjoyable, but I wasn't sold. It didn't do the job it was supposed to do, which was make me want to read the book. In all, it didn't impress me that much. It was okay, but it didn't impress me that much. So then I read Slam by Tash McAdams. This was again a novella leading into a novel, trying to make you read the novel. And it followed a girl who lives in this dystopian world where, oh my god, I can't even remember. There's powers and everything's being really strictly controlled, and if you have these powers, they're like telepathic powers, but you can either, there's like multiple categories where you can either move things or read other people's thoughts, or you can be someone who's called a blank, who just doesn't appear. Like nobody else can read their thoughts, and the government kind of tries to get as many of these telepathic people as possible. And we're looking at the rebel group who are trying to take them down. For a dystopian with a rebel group, I didn't think it was that good. I thought the setup was a bit poorly explained. I didn't really get why they were fighting against this government, just that they were, which was weird. But I did find the action really good and the writing was good. And by the end, I felt emotionally attached a little bit, but it ended really nice and clean, so I had no real incentive to continue reading the next book. But in all, I liked it slightly better than the first one, and I think I also gave it 3 stars. Maybe I gave the first one 2 stars, and I gave this one 3 stars. Anyway, they're about the same, but this one was a little bit better. Then I read Endgame the Calling by James Frey and Nils Johnson Shelton. I enjoyed this, and I felt a little bit guilty about it because I actually really loved it. But I do not support the James Frey Full Fathom 5 thing at all. I don't like it at all. It makes me really feel icky. But it was fascinating, and it was really fast paced, and the characters were really interesting, and I just really, really enjoyed it. This follows a group of about 12, I think it is, who are the descendants from these old bloodlines, and aliens have come and said, okay, you're all fighting to save the world, essentially, and it's a bit like a Hunger Games with aliens, and also has a lot of like codes and puzzles and historical stuff, and I really liked that. I have not tried to solve the puzzle that is actually in the book. I feel like I should attempt it, but I got like 2 pages in trying to solve the puzzle and got horribly confused and stuck, so I just gave up. I'd like to see someone complete it and figure out where all the steps were. That would be really cool. I also, this did leave on semi-cliffhanger, like it left it open definitely for more books. And even though I felt so guilty liking it, I will probably end up picking up the rest of the series because it was really entertaining. I gave this, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. The guilt factor. It would have been a 5-star book, but I feel really bad supporting it. Then I read The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is a magical realism book following a girl who's born with wings and kind of the heritage of her family and how they came to be. And oh my god, I loved it. I've only ever heard good things about it, but I had this on my shelf for a long time. I picked it up as an ARC, like, I don't know, when did it come out? March last year, and I had it for an ARC, so I probably got it end of the year before that ish, and I've just had it sitting here. I keep eyeing it off, being like, I need to read that, and I just never get around to it. But it was so good. Why didn't I read it before now? I don't know. It was absolutely stunning. The prose was gorgeous, and the characters and the plot, and I just felt so emotionally attached, and I didn't know how to live my life. I was just an emotional wreck about this book. It was so beautiful. It is short, it's not very long, it's only 300-ish pages, but it really packs a punch. And if you like magical realism, sad, fantasy kind of, but not, yeah, it's magical realism, it's not really fantasy. But if you like interesting, quirky, sad, thoughtful books, ching ching, this is it, because it's so good. And it's really pretty, like, it is so nicely done. So, like, even as an ARC, it is such a nicely produced ARC. Normally ARCs can be really ugly because they're not final covers, but this is practically the final cover, just not in proper binding. And it is so gorgeous. Then after that, I read Bleeding Heart by Melissa Graves. This is a queer romance following 2 boys, Brian and Kyle, and they are living in this world where vampires are really common, and it's all been kind of like governmentally, they're kind of legislated upon so that it's like well ingrained in their system. And Brian is a med student that does like vampire medicine, and Kyle is a new vampire that is kind of new to the area, and there's some budding romance, and there's stuff going on in the background and about particularly Kyle's history, and this was just really good. mature content. It's adult romance, but it was done really well. I love Melissa Graves' writing when it comes to mature content. She does a really good job. It doesn't feel corny or tacky. It feels like you feel emotionally connected even though you're just reading mature content. But this was just so good. Like it's definitely probably almost erotica. There's quite a lot of mature content to plot ratio, but it was really good, and I can't wait for the sequel because I want to learn more about this world and about Brian and Kyle and just Next, I read The Forest of Handsome Teeth by Carrie Ryan. This is a science fiction adult science fiction. Not really. It's an adult. At least I keep saying it's adult, but that's where we put it in our bookstore. But I don't know what it's actually considered. We've got it in the science fantasy section at our bookstore. But the library copy that I have here, because I picked it up really cheap, says it's teen. I don't know. It's probably teen suitable. This is a like zombie apocalypse novel. It's kind of set into the future, like a few generations into the future, where in this like gated community where all they know is that there's zombies outside the fence and they're inside the fence and they're living kind of a feudal existence because they don't have access to anything because they're this little community, little gated community. And it kind of really explores the idea of cults and um, controlling kind of governments. They're not really a government, but they're um, ruling body in this little society, and how within this backdrop of the zombie apocalypse, these young characters, break free of the norms of their society, kind of, and it's really, really interesting. Like, interesting. The prose is beautiful, and our main character Mary, who just does not fit in and has never fitted in, she's really I don't know if I empathized with her as much as I would have liked. Like there were some decisions she made where I was like, that was a poor decision. What did you do that for? But in all, she was really interesting to read from, and this is a part of a series, but they're companion novels, not like follow-ons. But I'm really excited to continue reading this because the whole world of this zombie apocalypse is so interesting and I want to see more of it, especially seeing as this one was primarily limited to the gated community and the zombies directly outside it. I'd like to see more of the world. This was really, really interesting. I think I gave it 4.5 stars ish. It got a pretty high rating for me. It was really good, and I have already ordered the second book in the series. Then I read Designs on You by Carrie Pack. This is a adult romance following a queer adult romance, queer, following Scott, who's a graphic designer, and Jamie, who's the model. And it was really cute. It has a lot of like tension and really good chemistry. And I don't know how to talk about a romance novel because I don't talk about them often enough. But the writing was really good. I really believed in the characters. I felt like they were really well developed. And even though it's a tiny novel, I really felt the emotional connection between the characters and how, because of their age, like there's a bit of an age gap. Jamie's only 19 and Scott's heading towards 30. But although there's that age gap, they're still really well connected, and it was a well balanced relationship. There was nothing creepy going on, and it was just really cute, and it was so good. The whole time I was like, get together, get together, get together. Really good, really good. And then I read The Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Magisterium trilogy, which is a middle grade fantasy thing. And oh my god, I was going into this expecting not to like it that much. I'd heard kind of mixed things. And I was very prepared to not really like it because it seemed a bit like blasé, very Harry Potterish. In like, it's gonna be like a however, it's a 4-book series with like every year in school. It seemed very formulaic, I think. But reading it, oh man, best plot twist ever. I won't spoil it because plot twists are good when you don't know what's happening. It's a plot twist for a reason. But I really liked how the twist was developed and how it all worked. I'm really excited to see where this series goes now. Yes, I can see parallels to Harry Potter. There's a lot of Harry Potter parallels. But it's also unique and the magic system's kind of interesting and kind of quite interesting. And I felt really connected to the characters by the end of this. It took me a while. It took me a while to get into it. I wouldn't call it as good as Harry Potter by any means, because Harry Potter's just genius. But I really liked it. And I would definitely be picking up the rest of this series because it was good. And I am really excited to see where these go. Did I do a synopsis? Not really. Nope. Essentially, there's magic, and Callum's our main character. He gets told by his dad, fail at the school because you shouldn't go there, they'll kill you. Essentially, your mum died, they killed your mum, and don't go there. But it turns out he's not very good at failing the test, and he gets taken to the school, and he kind of likes it better than he thinks he should, especially seeing as how much his dad told him to not go. And he's just really sassy, and I love it. I think I gave this 4 stars. Room for improvement, but really good. Another book with an awesome plot twist. Next, I read Moriarty by Anthony Horowitz. This is set in the Sherlock Holmes universe, and is set in the time after the Reichenbach Falls. For people who are familiar with the TV show but not the original series, it's essentially the jump from the building, but it happened on an actual waterfall at the Reichenbach Falls in the books. And for years, there was no Sherlock Holmes releases after the fall, and he was supposed to be dead. And then after pressure, Conan Doyle brought him back. And so there's a whole gap where no one knows where Sherlock is, and Watson's just doing his own thing. And this kind of really explores that and is about like what happens to London after Sherlock and Moriarty fall from the waterfall. It is really good, like really good. Most of the way through, I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is just another normal like Sherlock Holmes style mystery, but not following the same characters because of course they're all in hiding. We're just trying to explore and figure out what's going on in the vacuum that's left by the death of Moriarty and Sherlock. Death of Sherlock. Death. But by the time I was invested in the new characters by about there. It's not very far through. By the time we hit the plot twist, like about here, I was like, oh. This went from like a 4-star book to like a definite 5-star book at that plot twist. If you're going along thinking it's a bit boring and you're not really feeling connected to the new characters, see it through to the end. You will love them by the end of this book. It is so good. Don't go into this thinking high action, intense, pumping stuff like lots of other Anthony Horowitz stuff. If you've read The House of Silk, the first Anthony Horowitz Sherlock Holmes novel, you will know that it is very much done in the original style of Sherlock Holmes. He tries to bring in a bit more action, but it has a very passive voice, and that's kind of what Conan Doyle always had in the Sherlock Holmes stories. So you've got to be prepared for that. It's not like fast, it's fast paced, but it's a very passive voice, and it has a definite feel to it that's almost a little bit slower than you'd think. But this was so good. I kind of want to reread it already. It was really, really good. Definitely recommend it. I've already told all my workmates at work that they have to pick this up because it is so good. And then I read Chef's Table by Lynn Charles, which is another gay romance, and it follows Patrick and oh god, and Evan. And Evan is I've read it so long ago. Evan is a professional chef, like proper chef, at a big restaurant. He's got quite a bit of acclaim. He's already won some awards, but he's kind of falling into a rut. He has a staff member he's not a big fan of. She's not pulling her weight very well in the kitchen, and he's just not being able to have the freedom to do menu choices and stuff that he wants. He's kind of feeling a bit run down and losing his knack for what he loves. And so then he goes into this diner being like, oh yeah, let's just have a meal. And he meets Patrick, who is not a qualified chef, like he didn't finish his degree. Um, shirts. He didn't finish his degree, um, but he's really good at what he does, and he provides this meal for Evan that is like crazy good, and they kind of fall into this romance, and it is really gorgeous. What I really loved about this book was that the tension through most of the novel isn't built upon misunderstandings in the relationship, it's built more upon their own personal struggles, like Evan's struggle to get his vibe back in his job, and Patrick's struggle to like feel like he fits in even though he's not a professional chef, and just was so cute. Like the romance just built so well, and by the end I was like, I didn't want it to finish. I just wanted to keep exploring their life even though there was no more plot left. I just it was so gorgeous. Like this was absolutely adorable, and you could tell how well the author understood the world of professional chefs and like how a professional kitchen works. And it was just really good. I really love food, and this just cute romance, food. I was sold like straight away. Definitely gave this 5 stars. Read it, it is so good. Then I read another novella, which was The Fear Trials by Lindsay Cummings. This is a prequel novella to The Murder Complex, and I loved it. It was what I was wanting from the novellas I read earlier in the month. It was a good beginning that didn't give away plot for the novel, and you knew that it was kind of its own contained short story, but it really gave you a feel for the world and what would, like, even though it was explained well in the novel as well, like you didn't feel like if you read only the novel and not the novella you wouldn't understand, but it really got me interested and invested in the world without feeling bored or like I was getting plot I didn't want yet. It was really good as a prequel novella. I think I gave it 4 stars because it was just a novella and I always struggle to give them 5 stars, but I really enjoyed it. It follows the whole series is set in a world where the murder rate is higher than the birth rate, and they're trying to like survive essentially. And the novella follows our main character Meadow, who's the main character, one of the main characters in the novel as well, and she's trying to pass the fear trials, which are a set of tasks set out by her dad to prove that she's good enough to um, be able to really survive without his training anymore. And it was really, really good. So then, of course, I read The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings, and I really loved it. I don't really know how to describe the plot other than they're trying to survive. Meadow from the novella and Zephyr, who is the male love interest character, are trying to survive in this world that is really pitted against them. And they have more to do with the way the whole thing works than they think. But spoilers, so that's like all I'm gonna say. And I really, really enjoyed it. I am very, very keen to pick up the sequel when it comes out because this was so fast paced. The ending left me being like, where's more book, please? More book, please. More, more, more. And I just really, really loved it. The world was so well built, the characters were really believable, and I don't even know what to say. Lindsay, you're amazing. Give me the next book, please, like soon, really soon, and have it so I can order it. Yay! Then I read A Thousand Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This is a science fiction, I'd almost call it a science fiction romance, with a gorgeous cover, let's just say gorgeous cover, following this girl called Marguerite. I think what does he call her? There's a nickname for her, Meg, I think. Marguerite, who is the daughter of these brilliant scientists who have developed this technology that lets them send their consciousness into other dimensions, like parallel universes. And it's a big mystery that her father's been killed, and she's going to try and she thinks she knows who's done it. She thinks she knows who has done it, and her friend are going, like her and one of the grad students. They think one grad student did it, and her and the other grad student are going in to parallel universes to try and solve what happened and get the guy responsible and hold him to justice, to hold him to account, essentially. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was a lot different to what I thought it would be. I thought it would be more high on the action. It was actually kind of a bit slower than I expected, which wasn't a bad thing, just a bit slower. It had a lot of focus on the romance. I heard some people say they didn't like the romance. I thought it was interesting and okay. I didn't find it the best romance of all time, but I didn't go to it. It was just fine. It just wasn't outstanding. It was good. It just wasn't outstanding. But I really enjoyed the time spent in each world really explaining it well. Like, at one point they go to kind of a universe in which the Russian royalty maintained its line really well, and she's descended from Russian royalty, so suddenly she's the princess, empress. I think she's an empress. In like her dad's the emperor, she's the young one. In this Russian ruled world that doesn't have very advanced technology, they're still relying on letters and things. And it was just really, really good, actually. Like, I didn't love it. It wasn't what I expected at all going into it. But the more I think about it, the more I really enjoyed the elements of it. It was really good. And although the writing wasn't fabulous, the plot was interesting, the world building was really good, and the characters were interesting, if not fully relatable. Like, sometimes they made poor decisions. But I guess I really liked it overall. I think I gave it 4 stars. I would definitely pick up the second one, especially if it has a cover as stunning as this one. I'd love to see something very similar to this, just with maybe a different colour scheme, because this is really gorgeous. Like, literally, it is stunning. Then I read The Book of Ivy by Amy Engel. This is a dystopian post-war novel in which essentially there's been a huge nuclear war over America, and this small community has banded together. They think they might be some of the only survivors, and there were 2 factions. One group who wanted essentially a democracy, and one group who wanted kind of like a monarchy system, kind of. He's called a president, but it passes down to his son. And to maintain the peace, the boys and the girls, like the boys of one group marry the girls of the other. And we follow Ivy, who is the daughter of the losing side who wanted democracy, and she's marrying the president's son, and her job is to kill him to like regain their power balance thing. They want the democracy. And it's really interesting. It's a romance very, very much a romance. This is developing the relationship between Ivy and Bishop, the president's son, but it is set in this so interesting, immersive world where she's trying to figure out what she wants to do because he's not what she expected, and she's trying to figure out if she can still kill him and if it's the right choice to kill him. And it's really interesting. I'm very excited to pick up the second one. What I think I loved a lot about this, which I didn't find as good with, say, A Thousand Pieces of You, which also was heavy on the romance, was that this one had much better writing. The first person, both of them were first person, but this one really worked a lot better. The prose was just better, it ran nicer. I felt like I could turn the pages a lot quicker because it flowed a lot better. And the ending left me in a bit of it was a mild cliffhanger. Now I really want book 2, but luckily for me it comes out like really soon, doesn't it? It comes out like in November. So come at me, book 2, because I want to see where this goes. This cliffhanger, and I really want to see what's happening with all the characters. And she makes hard decisions and sticks to them. I like that too. I like main characters, especially female characters who stick to their guns. Thanks. Then I picked up Platonic by Kate Paddington, which follows Mark and Daniel, who had a romance in high school and they were a year apart, and Daniel went away to New York for college and Mark was left at high school, and it didn't really work well for them and they broke up, but they've never really gotten over it, and it's kind of their story and journey back to rekindling their romance and making it work. It's essentially just like a high impact romance, and I loved it so much. Like, it is romancy romance. I don't know how to review romancy romance, but I loved it. I felt really connected to the characters, and the growth and progression of their relationship was really believable, and I just really liked it a lot. The supporting crew of characters was really good, and it was beautiful. Like, it was just so nice. So good. Mature content. Yeah. Then I picked up Hexed by Michelle Chris. This is a young adult fantasy kind of witch novel. It's written like a contemporary, but it is a witch novel. I gave this 4 stars, more like 3.75-ish stars. It follows Indy, who finds out she's a witch, and that witches are against sorcerers, and sorcerers are trying to kill all the witches, and she's kind of in a battle to save her life. I had some problems with this, mainly because the writing was very contemporary-esque, but it didn't hit hard at the moments it should. Big things were happening, like people were dying right in front of her eyes, and it just didn't like pass through into the writing style. I've read like paranormal. It's paranormal. It's not fantasy. What am I talking about? But I've read paranormal fiction before that has that contemporary style feel in the writing. Buffy paranormal. That's what I call it. Buffy paranormal. Buffy style. And I've read stuff like that before, and I've loved it. But when it had hard impacting moments, it reflected that in the writing. Whereas this, I think, things would happen. Like, at one point, one of the supporting characters, like, shoves scissors through their throat. But it didn't, like, the main character didn't seem to really be impacted by that in the way she wrote. And it was weird. It just gave me iffy feelings. Like, I didn't feel like it was balanced properly. I liked the plot, it was interesting, and the plot twist at the end makes me want to read the second one. But I did feel like the writing kind of let this down, and I'm hopeful that in the second book that will have been resolved with a bit more experience. And then I read Half Bad by Sally Green. This is another witch novel, paranormal thing, following Nathan, who is half black witch, half white witch, in this society where black witches and white witches absolutely do not get along. And where I think this, like, I came out from one paranormal witch book to another paranormal witch book, this one was just so much better than the first one. I've heard mixed things about this book, with people being either in loved it camps or hated it camps, and I was personally in the loved it. I thought the characters were really interesting, the plot was really interesting and well developed, and the prose was just stunning. Like, the writing was awesome, like wicked good. And that kind of makes it for me. If you have really good prose, I'm gonna like you way more than if you don't. So I loved this. I'm very excited to see where it goes in the sequel. It kind of left on a semi cliffhanger, and the sequel comes out soon, so I'm really excited about that. And it was so good. Like, it had its minor faults, and some of the plot, like the start plot was really good, the middle was really interesting, and then it kind of, there were bits where I was like, this could have been done differently, and it maybe would have had a bit more impact. But it didn't mean that what was done was bad. I just could see ways in which it could be improved. And I just really liked this. Good prose. Oh man, so good. Apparently, some people didn't like the writing style, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And then I read Welcome to the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, and I think it was Sarah Reese Brennan who helped on this one. Yes. This is the first book in the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy novella series, which is kind of like the Bane Chronicles. Remember those? From back in the day in the Mortal Instruments world, except this one follows, spoiler alert, Simon as he is embarking on his Shadowhunter adventure. It is a bit of a spoiler because, it spoils for the last book, but it is so good. I have missed Cassandra Clare's writing style, and Simon is one of my favourite characters. He's hilarious. I love Simon. So I was so excited to read from Simon's point of view. And even though a lot has changed since the majority of the series, because, spoilers, it was so good. Yeah, I really loved it. I love Simon. It's literally practically all I have to say without spoiling things. But really, really good. If you were like up in the air about whether you wanted to read them or not, because you might be kind of like, oh, well, I don't really read the novellas. Read the novellas. They are so good because they can have the humorous elements without having to have that big plot build up that the rest of the series has. And they just had their own little plots, and it was so good. Oh, I love Simon. I loved the Bane Chronicles, every single story, and I'm really excited to see how these ones go. It just is so good. I'll definitely be picking these up in print version as well because I want them for my collection. And then I read Half Lives by Sally Green, which is it's written as a prequel novella to Half Bad, but it is not really a prequel. It's said beforehand, but I wouldn't really call it a prequel. It follows one of the characters in Half Bad called Gabriel before you meet him in Half Bad, and him and his sister are living in America, and it's kind of the exploration of their witch powers, and it's hard hitting and packs a punch. It's told in diary format, which is very different to Half Bad, but it was so good. I really loved it. I read it really quickly. For a novella, it was great. Loved it. I think I gave it 4 stars. And then I read Sotto Voce by Erin Finnegan. This is another adult romance following Thomas and Greg and Ooh. Are you coming in too, Paul? Yes. And Thomas is a wine critic. Tom, go by Tom. He's a wine critic, and he is sent out to the California wine country to do this big year in review kind of thing for the wine country. And he is falling in love with one of the young winemakers, and it's just so cute. Like Chef's Table, it really showed how much the author knew about wine and winemaking. She is a winemaker, and it was just really, really good. It was slow build and believable, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Definitely worth picking up if you're interested in adult romance stuff. So those were the books I read in the first half of February, most of February. And then I went on holiday and I read one book in February while I was on holiday. I expected to read more, but I got kind of busy, so I didn't. But I did read one. And that book was, I can't hold up far enough. Oh my god. And that book was Multiversum by Leonardo Patrignani. This is a science fiction kind of thing following a boy called Alex from Milan and a girl called Jenny from Melbourne. And Alex and Jenny kind of can communicate by telepathy. Telepathy. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking too hard about it, so I can't remember how to say it. I kind of enjoyed this. I liked the plot, but I found the writing style to be pretty weak, possibly because it was originally written in Italian and then translated. And I just felt that it didn't quite perform up to standard that I was expecting. Oh my god, I can't hold something with my hand. I am so sorry. But yeah, so I just found it a little bit difficult to deal with. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I think I give it about a 3.5 stars. So those were all the books I read in the month of February. Sorry for this horrible camming, but it's going to be going on for the whole month until I can find the top half of this tripod. But I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll figure out some alternative methods, maybe. Thanks for watching. If you've read any of these books and enjoyed them or didn't enjoy them, let me know down below what you thought. And oh my god, I am so sorry. It's shaking all over the place. And I will see you soon with my wrap up, which wrap up? This is the wrap up with my March TBR. Will probably have to be hover cammed as well. I'm still tossing up whether I'm going to do a TBR or whether I'm just going to do a bookshelf tour of my bookshelf there at uni. So let me know if we've done this part of the conversation already. I'm sorry. I'm going to leave now. Hope you're having a great day and I'll see you soon. Bye.